Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. It's Buffalo week, playing the Bulls, not the Bills. I learned a lot about Buffalo doing my research over this summer. Nathan Hurst, what do you know about Buffalo?
It's cold.
Mm-hmm.
It snows a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
And they love bovine characters.
Yes.
That's about it.
They
like hot wings. They invented the hot wing.
Hot wings are important. Buffalo wings are important. I do like those. Also, it used to be one of the major thoroughfares in the United States just because you had the lake there and the rivers around it. Major port, major big area. Of course, that goes away as soon as people drive or take trains. But for a little bit, Buffalo was on top of the world, but not their college football team. That's never been the case. And Mizzou gets to play them this week. And, well, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it because we're in the middle of the season. But, we also wanted to recognize that we did have a game. We talked about it the post-game show on Friday night, which came into your feeds on Saturday. And, time has passed. You talk about it, the day that happens, you talk about it the day after, and then you think about it for a couple of days, and maybe some other things come up. So, Hurst, it's been a couple of days. What did you think about Mizzou against Murray State? There we go.
It was a good performance. So it's kind of, I have the same thoughts as I did the day after the game. Good performance. Was it the best performance this team could put on the field? No, and I don't think we really wanted it to be in week one. But it was a good, solid performance. There are things that can be tightened up, which I think the coaches are probably happy about because it's something they can focus on and keep the team focused for another, hopefully, light matchup this week. They got a lot of guys into play, get their nose bloodied a little bit, especially guys that, may not see a whole lot of the field moving forward. Hopefully they will this week as well. But just a, kind of holistic, good, strong start of the season. Not a whole lot, in my opinion, to say beyond that. It's hard to pull specific scheme things out of that first game because you really not sure how much the team is holding back, how much the coaching staff is holding back. I don't think they were holding a ton back, especially not compared to last year. Or if they're showing something specific just to get it on tape and we're never going to see it again down the road. So it's really hard to pull any real specific things out from the scheme side. So, dominated every facet of the game and, move on to the next week. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah. There are things that you can obviously improve on. I think, a lot of it is just, it's fun with numbers, fun at watching one-sided fist fights on camera. For example, Murray State ran one play in Missouri territory. Now that's an offensive play. Obviously they had a punt in there, which we're not going to count, but they had the same amount of plays run in Missouri territory that Missouri's backup quarterback had in completions, which is one. And that's fun. Also, Missouri State's net kickoff yards was -2. You don't get that a lot. That's a rarity. But that's what happens when you get one kick and it's an onside that is recovered and moved forward 2 yards. That's fun. I like that.
Well, we're probably leading the country in that statistic at the moment.
Could be. I'm not going to check, but I'm going to trust that to be true. I also like this, again, there's only so much you can learn from an FCS opponent, but knowing what we know about how important third downs are and how important it is to stay ahead of the chains. I thought it was really impressive that, looking at how Missouri operated, they averaged 12 yards per play on first down. That's very good. A little less on second down. I think once you got into second down, they're averaging merely 6.8. But then on third down, which is obviously the money down for the common vernacular, if you will, they still averaged 8 yards per play, 8.2 specifically. So, they got their yards kind of no matter what. Obviously, they weren't perfect on third down. But, if you can average 8 yards per third down throughout the year, you're doing pretty well. The other thing I'm going to track, and I don't know if you saw this in my piece, but I'm going to attempt to track guys who get first downs, not guys who convert third downs, but the ones who are crossing the chains on first, second, or third down. I don't know if you saw the piece, but do you know who led the Tigers in first down conversions?
I did not see that piece, but I'm going to guess, and this would be for it wouldn't be a quarterback who completed a pass; it'd be the receiver that caught it.
So it would be the pairing, right? So Brady Cook, Theo Weiss would be one grouping. Brady Cook, Luther Burden would be another pairing, stuff like that.
But then a running back would be
Running
his
back would be
own
a single guy.
spot.
Yeah.
Sure. I would go ahead and wager either Marcus Carroll or yeah, probably Marcus Carroll would be who my guess would be.
Yeah, that's a good guess. So Marcus Carroll actually finished tied for second, technically fifth. The first was also a tie with 3. Do you want to try to give it another shot?
So it's 3. In that case, it'd be probably Brady to Luther, Brady to what's another Brady to Theo, and Brady to who was up there in receiving, because it wouldn't have been Norfleet. Mookie, I guess.
So as actually the running backs, you were really close your first time. Nate Noel and Kwan Lacey tied for 3 first downs each. I think Nate got his on first and second downs, and then Kwan converted a third down and then got 2 more. So those 2 are at your top. And then right below that with 2 first downs, Brady Cook to Luther Burden, Brady Cook running, Marcus Carroll running, Brady Cook to Theo through the air, and then Drew Pine to Daniel Blood.
Oh, nice. I was thinking Blood might have gotten in there because he had several catches there in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so they all had 2. And that leads me to my other, commentary that we mentioned, I think, during the post-game show, but I wanted to point out again, everybody got a touch. There was no receiver went over 49 yards. That was like the invisible ceiling. If you go down through the targets and everything, I mean, your leading target getter was Marquise Johnson with 7, but those are all the deep passes that didn't connect. Once the targets go, Daniel Blood 6, Theo Weiss 6, Luther Burden 5, Nate Noel 4, Mookie Cooper 4, Josh Manning 3. And the yards 41, 47, 31, 49, 19, 49, 21, 20. Like, it's just, they rotated guys in. They didn't really go deep all that much except for the 1 to Luther and the 4 or 5 to Speedy. And they just worked guys in. They just got them on the field. And, we talked about the 8 guys who ran the ball. Nate Noel had 10. Marcus Carroll had 6. And then it's Kwan Lacey 5. Tavares Jones 5. Jamal Roberts 4. Brady Cook 3. Drew Pine 1. It was a group effort, and you knew you could do that. And we'll talk about depth on defense, but at least depth on offense, we knew it was there. And now we're getting to the very fun problem of how do our most talented guys who are in line for awards get the targets, because everybody needs to get fed because they're all that good.
Yeah, it was a round robin affair. I mean, it's your turn, kind of pass the baton to the next guy. I will be very interested to see if that continues this week or not, for a couple reasons. First, does that, if it does happen similarly this week, regardless of score, but hopefully because we're winning by a lot, does that signify that we're going to have a much bigger rotation this year on offense, probably on defense too, than we thought originally, and that Drinkwitz has ever had, just because he has, over the course of 4 years, built the depth to be able to do that? Or this week, are we going to see that rotation cut down quite a bit, at least in the first half, at least when the game is marginally competitive? Because do they want to nail down the rotations for next week against Boston College, when it looks like it's going to be a little more competitive of a game? So
put a feather in that. Put a feather in that. We'll get there.
Right, and we'll talk about that later. But are they going to be going out trying to tighten up the rotations and really get a good feel for how, once the real games start, how it's going to look, or are they going to keep spreading the wealth? I would be very surprised if they spread the wealth and that ends up being the case, that we're going to run 4 or 5 running backs out there every game. Don't think that's going to happen. But if there's running 4 or 5 running backs out there in the first half or the first 3 quarters, that might be a little bit more of a hint that maybe they are more interested in getting a wider swath of guys touching the ball even later on in the season. Very interested to see how that plays out.
I don't even know what I want. Ohio State has this problem all the time. Oregon has this problem all the time. Alabama has this problem where it's like we have our starters. By the way, we've got 8 other guys who could also start.
Yeah. It's a great
And
problem to have.
it's
Sign me
tremendous.
up. Sign me up every day for that problem. But
It's
uh,
tremendous. But what happens to those Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama receivers now? Now they go somewhere else if they don't get fed. And I think it's different for Mizzou, which I know I'm just doing the Arrested Development meme. Well, but maybe we're different. I think it's different in this case because your top 3 guys are gone next year. Like I know we can hedge against Luther and all that. He's gone. Okay, no matter what happens this year. So it's a situation where it's like we don't need to. I mean, maybe you need to get the third string guys involved, but most of those guys are freshmen or barely second year players. It's hey, we got to win. We have to win. And Eli Drinkwitz talks about games are for playing and winning, and practice is for practice. And so I want to see the depth guys. I want to see them roll out for Buffalo. I'd like to see them against BC and Vandy too, because that means you're blowing them out. But once we get into conference season, I don't want to see a deep rotation unless it's how you win. If we're doing this to force it in conference season to make sure people don't transfer away, I'm less thrilled about that. If they're on there because they can actually contribute, then fine. It kind of goes back to what was 2013, where you had your top 3, DGB, Marcus Lucas, LaDamian Washington, and then you also had Darius White, you had Bud Sasser, you had Jimmy Hunt, and you worked them in situationally so that they had 20 targets in 13 and then hit the ground running in 14 and were ready to go. So I like that approach. I don't want to force it. Does that make sense?
absolutely. I'm 100% there with you. I think the smart way to do it, especially if they're going to now certainly not give a Kewan Lacey the amount of carries he had, um, last week throughout the season. But this might work better for receivers and running backs. But figuring out what's the one thing that this guy does really well, and maybe it's multiple things, but what's the thing he does best? What's the thing that Daniel Blood does best? What is the thing that Josh Manning does best? Let's get them on the field for 4 or 5 plays where we've designed into the and we're going to have we hypothetically Daniel Blood runs fantastic dig routes. Okay, we're gonna get him on the field for 5 plays a game where he's running a dig route, and we're expecting him to be open because he's really good at that. Now, can he run all the other routes yet? No, so we're not going to ask him to do that. But we know the times he is going to be on the field because we want to get him on the field a little bit. He's going to excel. He's going to set himself up for success, and you can do that with down the line. So you're getting these guys on the field, each limited amount, but they're on the field for plays that they can contribute in, and not just to check the box that they stepped on the field for that day.
Yeah. And that's great, until defenses start picking up on that. And then it's like, well, now we're going to run them out there just to do the thing they're not good at so they can get some reps on that. It's a great problem to have, trying to work in your depth because they're just so damn talented. But against Murray State, you could do that, and we did see that to the point where that last drive was 10 freshmen and an upperclassman. And also, I saw this from Eli Hoff. Looking at the alignment, you had 3 down linemen, 1 linebacker, and then 7 defensive backs at one point on the field. It's great. 3-1-7. I mean, if they're going to pass and you can get pressure with 3 guys, do it. Yeah, knock yourself out. I don't think that's something that Corey Batum is going to roll out, every single game. But, what's his name? Dave Heacock over at Iowa State. He did something very, very similar. He did, I think he did a 3-2. Was it 3-2-6 or 3-1-7? I think he did something like that a couple of years ago in the Big 12, and it worked really well for Iowa State. Because they had talented secondary and everybody threw the ball in the Big 12 at that time. So whatever, just you got the guys out there. You can see what you do against Murray State, and it's not really going to bite you in the butt, which was great. So I'm happy that it happened. I know Mizzou's like statistically number 1 in defense because they're the only team that allowed less than 100 yards in their first game, which great. That total yardage is certainly a kind of an antiquated stat, but we can go with that because it makes me feel good. And now we turn the page to Buffalo. Nathan Hurst, do you remember 2008?
I do,
Yeah.
to an extent.
Do you remember Mizzou playing Buffalo in 2008?
I do remember playing Buffalo. I couldn't have told
Yeah.
you that it was 2008. I would have guessed somewhere in that '08, 07 to 11 range. I do
Yeah.
remember playing them. I remember them not being particularly notable.
Huh.
Uh, but yes, I do remember that.
Do you remember? Let's name some guys. Do you remember Drew Wiley? Does that name sound
Ooh,
familiar to you?
it does not.
He was an NFL quarterback. He was at
Oh, wow.
Buffalo. He was a senior that year. So you remember Turner Gill?
I do remember Turner Gill. Good old
Yeah.
Turner Gill.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was in his second year at Buffalo when they played in
Yes.
2008. Buffalo, if you don't know, has been kind of just a run program for a very, very long time. Even back in the 60s, they had like a little bitty mini run and then just they've moved up and down conferences a lot. The administration stopped funding football. Then the students said, no, you need to fund football. So they kind of got a late jump in the 70s. They pushed themselves up through the 1AA, the 1A ranks, probably faster than they should. But that was back in the days when it was a little less restrictive on who can move up and who can move down. And they have just struggled since they got here. Now, 2008 comes around, and Turner Gill fields a team that has all the turnover magic in the possible world. I think they're like +7 or +8 by the end of the year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but boy, if you know your offense turns over the ball and you're still +8, that means your defense was really good at it. Missouri was in a dogfight with Buffalo. This is pre-Oklahoma State, mind you. This is Mizzou is going to win the Big 12 and make a run at the national title. Mizzou, and they're in a dogfight with Buffalo into the third quarter, and everyone's going, "What is happening?" Now they ended up winning by 21, but Turner Gill did so well at Buffalo that he then took the Kansas job, and it was all because of this incredible turnover luck and an NFL quarterback who was making safe throws. I'm saying all that to say, don't overlook G5 programs. You never know when one's going to jump up and bite you in the butt. And Gary Pinkel and Mike Alden and the Mizzou football team had this nasty habit of scheduling the worst G5 programs in the country the year they get competent and make a run. And it started at Buffalo when they won the MAC, and then went over to San Diego State when they won the Mountain West. It went to Bowling Green when they won the MAC. Every single year they scheduled a G5 team who traditionally sucked and then had their enlightened years. So do not overlook them. Do not freak out if Buffalo is game. Also, Buffalo is kind of bad. Can you name any player on Buffalo's roster?
Now that I've dug through their stats from last week, I can, but only because of outstanding names like Jaquez Barksdale, which is just a winner. I do remember CJ Ogbonna from SEMO as well. So he did have he played on the field. I don't know if he started that game when Mizzou played SEMO a couple years ago.
He was
but he did find the field in that game, and he has moved on to actually bigger and better things. Weirdly enough, beyond that, not particularly. Not particularly. I did actually. Say that CJ McCarthyans is a cornerback, one of their better cornerbacks, probably their best cornerback. I did in my top 10 opposing players on offense and defense over the summer for Rock M Nation. I mentioned him because I wanted to throw somebody in there from the non-conference.
Sure.
He's a sophomore this year. He's a true freshman last year. Had a very solid true freshman year. Looks like he had 5 tackles last week. No picks or anything, only one game. But he would be the only one that I could honestly say that I had ever heard of before.
Yeah. CJ Bazile is the guy that I recognized. I know he had a big 2021, I think. Or is it 22? No, it doesn't matter. He had a good year. He didn't have a good year last year, but that's why he came back. Here's the thing about Buffalo. They are the second worst team left on this schedule, according to SP Plus. They are 111th. Last week they played Lafayette, which again is an FCS team. And they beat them. They were, again, in a fight in the third quarter. They had turned the ball over kind of in the middle of the third quarter, and Lafayette was threatening to close it within single digits as far as points. Did not. Buffalo went on to win by at least 2 scores. But, again, this is an improvement. Remember, Pete Limbo is the first-year head coach at Buffalo. He was a former Ball State guy, got Ball State to 10 wins and couldn't get another job. So he just kind of left in the middle of the night to be special teams coordinators at a couple different places. He is familiar with making MAC teams good. He's really good at special teams. He was on South Carolina's staff last year. And, Buffalo for the past 2 years had been upset by an FCS Patriot League team. So it did not happen this year. And this was against, they were ranked 19th in the FCS rankings, basically favored to win the Patriot League. So they had lost to the doldrums of the Patriots the last 2 years and then finally beat a ranked, pretty good team this year. So improvement. And I'm not being a sarcastic jerk here. Like, that is actual improvement for Buffalo. Yeah, they still have a ways to go. They still have a ways to go. Is there anything that you might be concerned about when it comes to Buffalo?
No, I do agree with you that no, not concerned about. There are things that I'm interested in seeing for sure. I agree with you that Limbo I think he was a very underrated hire for Buffalo just based on his past proven ability to win at the MAC level. Now, has he, been a mega successful, take him to a, I guess, formerly New Year's Six Bowl level success? No, but he has put on winning MAC teams on the field, and I don't see any reason why he necessarily couldn't do that at Buffalo eventually. But this is his first year. He's very much a development coach, a build from the ground up coach, and this is his first year. So they're not there yet. They could be there in a couple of years. They're not there yet. I am interested in seeing how the defense manages their running game. They are a much better rushing team than Murray State was. They put up more than 200 yards against Lafayette, and they asked Lafayette. But the aforementioned Jaquez Barksdale had 99 yards. He had 5 or 6 other players that ran the ball at least 4 or 5 times, including the quarterback. Now, he only had 20 yards, Ogbonna did, but 3 running backs had 14 carries, 7 carries. So they like to spread it around a little bit too. So I'm very interested to see how the defense can act against a more competent offense, right? That can do something. They can point to something from last week and say, hey, we ran the ball for 200 yards. That's good no matter who you're playing. They passed for just under 200 yards, not particularly amazing, completion percentage, average 8 yards per throw. So not crazy worried about them passing it through the air, but really just not worried, but interested to see how they play just against a better team. I don't think it ultimately is going to be a problem long term, but I don't think they're going to shut Buffalo out.
Probably not.
If they give up 10 points, that's fine. That's going to be fine.
From a rushing perspective, yeah, they're a better rushing offense than passing. They only really attempted 20 passes, 22, whatever. But their ground game is good, both on the offense and the defensive side. Now, a lot of that rushing came on big plays. Barksdale had 99 yards, but he got that in big chunks. Al-Jay Henderson, who's kind of more of their nominal starter. He's a big dude, 6 foot 210. He's kind of more of a grinder guy, and like, he really didn't get his yards. But to your point, yes, 6 different players carried the ball, 46 carries on the game, 46 versus your 20 something passes. So that is what they wanted to do when it came to Lafayette. That's how they figured they could win. And yeah, please run right at us. Like, I'm, again, not being a jerk. Like, I want to test the defensive line and linebackers. Murray State really just kind of packed it in, and I'm not going to say the Q word, but like, they got pretty predictable, pretty conservative.
They became very conservative once it was clear that the game was very far out of reach the first 11 minutes.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm not taking anything long-term. It looked great, but like, that doesn't tell me anything for the future. So I want to see them stress test. I want to see that secondary stress tested. I want to see what it looks like when the linebackers, have to make a stop on third down, like in a goal to go, or like, hey, this is, we're getting to the end of the quarter here. We got to stop them. I want some stress. I want to press them a little bit and make them feel threatened a little bit to see what that looks like, just because there are so many guys. And Murray State, played everybody. Played everybody. 39 guys. There's only 37 listed on the depth chart. We played even more than that. So, like, what does that rotation look like? When you get to crunch time, who are your defensive tackles that you're looking at? Who is out there at the cornerback slot? What do you do with them? Are we crazy blitzing like Blake Baker did on with LSU on Sunday night? Are we dropping to a shell and get the pressure with the 4-man front? Like, again, you're not going to get all of the answers, but I'd like to see some schematic stress on these guys just so I get a better idea of how Corey Batum calls the game.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted, we've talked a lot all offseason about the interior defensive line. We didn't learn a whole lot about those guys. We saw that Chris McClellan's a beast, and I think he will continue to be, but we had a good idea that he was going to be in the first place. We didn't really get to see Marquise Graciel tested. He was out there. He played a lot of snaps, but we didn't really get to see him tested. Same with all the other guys. So I'm interested in just maybe they can get punched in the mouth once, piss them off, and then see how they react at that point. And if they give up, as I said, if they give up 10 points, that actually might be fine because that's going to get them pissed off going into the next week. Say, no, we should not have given up this many points to this team. What do we got to fix? Let's fix it now.
Yeah. And offensively, the only thing that people have really been talking about is the deep ball or the lack of success at it because there really wasn't anything to pick at. Brady Cook, we talked about this. Like you're gonna miss some, you're gonna make some. One of those would have made a huge difference. It didn't. I'm sure he's practicing it all week. This pass secondary is not good. It is their weak spot. Their run defense is pretty good. Currently 12th. Again, just a sample set of 1, so that really doesn't tell you a whole lot. What does tell you a lot is that the defensive line for Buffalo averages about 6'2.5" in height and somewhere between 260 and 280 as far as weight. Which would put them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 14th lightest person on Missouri's offensive line. So it really doesn't matter who you trot out there. They're bigger than they are. Size is not everything. Speed is not everything. Technique is part of it too. But Buffalo likes to put some kind of shorter squatter guys out there, get some speed, and just, hope to havoc you and harass you into making a bad choice. So, okay, now we're going to have hopefully less of a clean pocket for Brady Cook to throw the ball. Maybe he has to move a little bit. That'd be nice. Maybe we do hit some deep shots on there and then Speedy or Luther or anybody just burns their guy because I think they could probably do that. But also I want to see, again, crunch time running backs. Who's it going to be? Last 2 years we knew it was going to be Cody Schrader. Is it Nate Noel, our speedster, or is it Marcus Carroll? Or is it Jamal Roberts, who can apparently pass block like a mofo? I don't know what those answers are. So I want to get some dirt on Brady's jersey. I want to see the running back rotation, and I want to see how they react when they're stressed.
Yeah, just give us a little more, make them sweat a little bit more than they did last week. I don't want them to sweat past the second quarter, but make them sweat up until halftime, and then kind of let the good times roll after that. That'd be the ideal scenario. Yeah.
I want Brady to get hit. Not because I'm mad at him. I want you to remember what it's like. I want you to feel the pressure. I want to feel, when you're running the ball, what it feels like to get smacked by an FBS player. So don't get hurt. I don't know if Brett Norfleet or Theo Weiss are going to play. It sounds like Eli Drinkwitz is going to release injury reports Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we can look forward to that since we are recording at 9:00 on a Wednesday. We should be able to see this tomorrow when this comes out. I would not be surprised if they are probable or questionable and they just sit them because they don't feel like they need to do that for this game. I would not be surprised by that. I would also not be surprised if they say, oh yeah, that's fine. And then either play them or don't. I don't feel a real sense of urgency with this game. It's probably famous last words that you can cut and paste and throw out there and make me look like an idiot. But if Mizzou plays its B game, it should beat the heck out of Buffalo. There's simple, straight up fact right there. So I don't know. Are we going to do score predictions this year? Is that a crazy dumb thing to do? What are you thinking?
I'm down for it. I'm happy to be wrong every week, so that sounds great to me.
All right. So what are you predicting?
Well, I've got Mizzou covering the 34.5 points that it was listed at yesterday. I'm not sure what the line is today. I haven't checked it today, but I have them covering. So I'm gonna go 48-10. I like the 10 points there.
Okay.
48-10.
Okay. I'll probably go 45-7.
Okay. So also covering.
Also
Uh,
covering.
yeah, I mean, I think Brady's going to hit at least one, if not a couple, deep shots that he didn't hit last week. That's going to make a big difference on, just on in terms of his yardage, the scoreboard. Because I don't know if we're going to necessarily put up a ton of points in the second half, or at least in the fourth quarter, just because hopefully we'll be running the backups out there at that point.
Sure.
But if they can put up, 4 or 5 touchdowns in the first half, a couple more in the third quarter, and then pack it in at that point.
Yeah. I feel like if you see Brady Cook or Luther Burden or any of the ones on offense past 10-minute mark, third quarter, something's gone wrong.
Yeah, get him out there for one drive.
Yeah.
Depending on how the first half goes, get him
Yeah.
out there for one drive in the second half, just to get the feel for sitting and then coming back out and
Yep.
and playing again, and then at that point, bring him out.
Yeah. And I like to see some havoc. Missouri's defense last week managed a 30% havoc rate, which is better than almost any other game that Blake Baker did in the past 2 years. Now, keep in mind, not a lot of plays there. Okay, it was like 40 plays, if that. So one pass broken up, one interception, and one tackle for loss puts you way higher when you're only at 40 plays and if you're at 50, 60, 70. But still, 30% is really good. I'd like to see somewhere in the 25% range. Whenever out of every 4 plays, you're blowing something up or making something go boom. Again, not crazy. I just want to see everybody have fun, play, be safe, get some exercise, and not hurt yourself and get the W. Because this one does count, just like the other one. But speaking of games that count, we had a football Saturday and we got to watch a lot of teams play, including teams that Missouri will play in the future. And I think there's some revising of strength of schedule that's going on the fly here. If in case you have not heard, Vanderbilt played Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, it was kind of viewed as a dark horse candidate for ACC championship, potential playoff run, depending on who you ask, just because they returned so many guys, including Kyron Jones, their quarterback. Then they went to Nashville and lost to Diego Pavia, the imported New Mexico State offense that now plays for Vanderbilt. And Jerry Kill, the special advisor to Clark Lee. Then on Monday night, Florida State continues to just shine a light on its redemption tour and show all of its warts and how bad it is, because they lost in Ireland to Georgia Tech in week 0 and then came back to the United States and then lost again. They lost again to Boston College, who last I checked is going to be the third team that Missouri plays this week. Now, there's context behind how these games went, and obviously both potential, future opponents did it differently. What were your takeaways from these games, and are you scared?
Am I scared? No. Am I more interested in those games? Absolutely. If either of them were on the road and not at home, it would be a little more, would be getting a little bit more nervous. Thankfully, they get both of those games in Columbia. Both the teams clearly are better than we thought that they were going to be, but in different ways. Boston College, I think in a lot of ways, they kind of punched Florida State in the mouth and they were not expecting it. They figured, okay, we lost on the road. We're coming home. We'll be back in front of our fans. We can just roll out there and we're going to win. And before you know it, it's been an entire quarter and Boston College has had the ball the entire quarter and they score. And then Florida State goes 3 and out, and then Boston College gets the ball again and goes down and scores again. And then at that point, Florida State just was a mess. And they're a mess anyway. They're just not a good team this year. Their quarterback is bad. Their defensive line is bad because Boston College ran all over them, and they're not the only ones. Georgia Tech did so as well. Vanderbilt is fun and, competent, but I'm also not necessarily worried about them either. It will make those games more interesting. It'll make them more fun for the casual viewer to tune in for sure, because there actually are some stakes now attached to those games. And maybe Mizzou beats them by 10 points instead of 17. Uh, but I'm not scared of them. I will say though, against Boston College here next week, they're going to have to strap it on up front and figure out where their eyes are looking, because Boston College runs, at least against Florida State, ran a lot, almost nothing but misdirection, and kind of reminded me a little bit about a Gus Malzahn offense, in that their
Imagine
quarterback
that.
can't throw it. Their quarterback is
Mhm.
he is very fast. He's not a passer, not a great passer. The receivers aren't great either, but he can run really well, and he can, fake it here and hand it off here. And if you're looking in the wrong spot, the ball's running, as fast as it can be 20 yards behind you. So they're going to have to figure out where they're looking, and how to defend that style of offense. Now, are they as talented as an Auburn Gus Malzahn team was, or even a UCF Gus Malzahn team? I don't think so. They're really not that talented. But O'Brien has done a really good job of giving them a game plan, which I don't think their offense really had. At least not one that was suited towards the strengths that they do have. And I
Yeah.
think that shows that he's a good coach. So he's going to put them in the best spots to succeed. Now, will they against Mizzou? Not if Mizzou comes to play.
So let me look at Vanderbilt first. And I love Diego Pavia. That is a dude. That is a guy that's like Cody Schrader. You don't know why he's so good, but he is. He just keeps winning. And in retrospect, it's incredible that the King Slayer Diego Pavia did not take down the 2022 Missouri Football Tigers. Boy, that was not a good team.
Because he didn't start that game. That's why.
Well, it could have happened. It should have happened, and it didn't. So Missouri dodged a bullet there. But Vanderbilt, they imported New Mexico State's offense. The Jerry Kill, who was the head coach, he resigned from New Mexico State, didn't want to be head coach anymore. At least there, he's now special advisor to Clark Lee. Of course, they brought in a quarterback, running back, a couple of receivers, and oh, by the way, their offensive coordinator, Tim Beck. Now, there's like 3 Tim Becks in college football. So whatever one you're thinking, not that one. But that they did really well. Now, it's the exact same playbook that they did again with New Mexico State. They run a ton. In one game, they're top 10 in run rates in both standard downs and passing downs. Like, that's what they do. They run the ball. Now, when they pass it, because they run so much, it is very effective. And Diego Pavia is a little son of a bitch who makes you feel like he's going to run. And at the very last microsecond, he tosses it to the side or deep. And yeah, he's just better than you. So it's very effective passing. It's not deep. It's not explosive, but it's effective. They go super slow. They're one of the slowest teams in the country right now. They run all the time. There's a lot of, Diego Pavia making stuff up as he goes along. And even then, they had to benefit from like one of the best field position advantages of the week. Started at Virginia Tech. Basically, their 37 was their average, which is top 10 in the country. And they had an extra 8.8 in turnover, 8.8 points in turnover luck in a game that they won by 7. Okay, so like this stuff matters, and they had to win in an overtime. And Virginia Tech is maybe a little bit fraudulent, and they are on the road. So like I'm not going to take one game and say that this is it, but this is the New Mexico State script that has beaten teams like that, including Auburn. And I'm not worried because they know certainly Eli Drinkwitz knows how to do this, but like just keep your eye on that. Just keep your eye on it. And then with Boston College, I think you nailed it. Right, Thomas Castellanos is chaos master. He's fast. He makes good decisions, but they cannot throw to save their life. I think it's currently the 80th best pass game in the nation. It's not good. The reason they were winning was because they were running, and Florida State's defensive line is not good because they imported like an entire one over the offseason. So I think a lot of this is Florida State being bad and Boston College pouncing on a wounded animal, because really their advanced stats are not super impressive. Really what they did well was third down conversions and not taking a sack.
And they had a big advantage, in my opinion, in that game because Florida State had already played a game, also overseas, and they were coming back on. It was like a 9 day rest, but they still played a game. They had been scouted. Boston College coming in with a brand new coach. No one knew what they were going to do coming in. I mean, Bill O'Brien's been all over the place. He was at Alabama most recently in college as their offensive coordinator, but they certainly weren't going to run Alabama's offense with the talent that Boston College has. And then he was at the Patriots, and they weren't going to run the Patriots offense. So there's no way the Florida State staff had any clue what they were going to come out with. And then before they knew it, it had been Boston College quite literally had the ball the entire first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and then that just gassed the defense, and because they could not get off the field. It was basically 3 yards in a cloud of dust, but a much more exciting version of 3 yards in a cloud of dust all the way down the field, just third down conversion after third down conversion after third down conversion, score a touchdown, get the ball back, do the exact same thing. By that point in time, Florida State started to figure it out. Really, the second half, Boston College had one legitimate drive. Their other touchdown they scored was on a long interception all the way down to like the 6-yard line or something. Yeah. So Florida State eventually figured it out. But by that point, it was too late, and their offense sucks. And so it is interesting. I'm glad because it's going to. I'm glad that Boston College has a pulse. Not even talking about the playoff implications of having a stronger schedule, but it's just going to make the team have to coalesce sooner, and strap their jock on tighter sooner, and not wait for the first 4 weeks in the bye before they go down to College Station and have to play a team that they legitimately have to come out and give their A game for. So yeah. I think ultimately will be a good thing that both of these teams are good, or at least better.
Yeah, I'll never accuse a college football team of overlooking an opponent. I feel like coaches and their staffs are paid enough that they're really good at putting in the effort to get you to focus. But it also helps if like it's a legit opponent who's like actually beating a name brand. And whatever you want to think of Virginia Tech, nobody thought anything of Vanderbilt. And whatever you want to think of Florida State, they were technically the 10th best team in the nation. Whatever. And they lost. They lost by getting out physical, which Eli Drinkwitz talks about all the time. So, it's nice to have your opponents get, to pay attention to. That's really good. Especially when you could potentially maybe take them a little lighter than you should. But no, I'm not changing my opinion on whether those will be wins or losses. I just think we should all pay attention and see what happens this week too.
For sure.
But speaking of this week, we got Buffalo coming up. It's at 6:00 Central Time. So I think it's SEC Plus.
SEC Plus and ESPN Plus. So if you have a cable provider or streaming provider that gives you access to ESPN and the SEC network, you do have access to SEC Plus. You might just have to find it in a different place. You might have to get on your computer. If you have a streaming device attached to your TV, you have to get on the ESPN app there to find it. It's not just going to be on your DirecTV box. Well, it may not anyway, because ESPN's I don't know if that's been resolved yet with DirecTV, but it's certainly not going to be on your Spectrum cable box. You're going to have to get online, whether it's on your phone, on your Roku or whatever, to watch it. But we did this last year. Everyone listening should have already figured this out. One game a year. It's not that big of a deal.
No. The team will make the effort. You can make the effort too. So that's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. Leave a comment and rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us at Twitter. I'm Nat at Nietzsche Edwards. He's at Burst of Hurst. Of course, you can follow the Rockham flagship at Rockham Nation and our podcast and outlet at Rockham Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, MIZ.
ZOU.
Dear Rockham Plus listeners, readers, and subscribers, we are thrilled to announce our first ever digital Mizzou football review magazine. Inspired by the iconic newsstand staples like Athlon, Phil Steele, and Street and Smith, our team has created a PDF file jam-packed full of content for you to learn about the most anticipated Missouri football season maybe in history. Checking in at about 100 pages, we have in-depth previews of all 12 opponents, analysis of each position group, profiles of newcomers, exclusive photographs, features like a retrospective on the 2014 team, the evolution of Thoreau Field, Luther Burden's place in Mizzou history, and more. We also have an analytics Q&A with Bill Connolly of ESPN, the founder of Rockham, We also have college football preview content and much more. This digital magazine is available now. It is $15 for purchase, with discounts available for premium Rock M Plus subscribers based on your membership tier. $10 for monthly members, $5 if you have an annual membership. Now is the time to become a member to secure your discount on this one-of-a-kind product today. We know that you're going to love this magazine, and we can't wait to have it on your devices. MIZ.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and the benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not the Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.